pick me up.
Vertigo, that vertigo.
Hey girl, I know this shit might sound crazy. Before you get in bed, throw on those heels. Hey girl, now I know why you waited. Had to be sure that I was worth the thrill. Ladies come and go, but you got something different. Had me so addicted from the start, and I never known all this loving I'd be missing if I didn't work my way into your heart. You give me vertigo, vertigo. Vertigo, vertigo. Tell me that it's cool, that I'm stuck on you, like your birthday suit. You give me vertigo, vertigo.
The way that you please me sets this room on fire. I'm burning with desire.
All right. Hey, everyone. This is Diamond Rivera, and we are back for another episode of the Live Discussions with Diamond podcast. Before we get started, I want to let everyone know Happy New Year. We are now in 2022, and I wish nothing but love, safety, and joy for all of you. And what you just saw was a nice preview of our special guest today, this Sunday. But also, before we get started, this episode is sponsored by Bachata Radio. And as well, this podcast is available on all streaming platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and the list goes on. And today, people, 2022, our first guest, episode 176. And the person we have here for me is extremely special. Meeting her this past year at the Dallas Bachata Festival, and really understanding kind of her lineage, her history, with also people that I know dating all the way back to North Carolina. I think we have an amazing opportunity to learn more about this special guest today. And here we have, representing North Carolina, the one and only Ashton, Laney.
What's up, guys?
Oh,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Ashton. First of all, before anything, just Happy New Year, of course. This is a new year, the first episode coming back into a new year. And for me, having you on this platform means so much because it's artists like yourself that I love seeing as a new generation of dancers, whether it's bachata, salsa, what have you. But, having you on, getting to know you a little bit more than just a quick visual we may see, for example, as we saw earlier with one of our friends, Ricardo Ramirez, all the way from the Texas area. But absolutely. But most of all, Ashton, appreciate your time, appreciate your value, and thank you for coming on to the podcast.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to kick off the year on a good note.
Absolutely. I mean, many of us, of course, in this dance world, dance scene, we highlight the success. We highlight the performances, the places we've traveled, the people we meet. But I also think it's very important to understand the person beyond the stage, because I think many people have the misconception of the artist that they love, because most of the times we see each other in a 30-second clip from a social, maybe a performance, but actually having the opportunity to learn a little bit more about the artists we love is why I do what I do. So of course we'll highlight all the success, but I think it's very much more important to understand the human being aspect of things, understanding really who Ashton is as a person. So Ashton, as I do with every podcast, with every guest in every episode, let's take it way back. Let's take it, helping us understand. And the question is really, Ashton, who is Ashton Laney before the performances, before the costumes, the makeup, the traveling? before it all?
Okay, yeah. So we do kind of have to go a good ways back for that. So growing up, I've definitely always had like a really active lifestyle. I've always been into like either like staying social or staying active, and that did entail like trying dance a few times
Mm.
until the point whenever I was 13. I tried dance again for I think it was the fourth time I tried dance. Yeah, and I don't know. I just like took a summer camp for dance, and from there it kind of just stuck. And so that was I was 13, and throughout all of that too, like I was doing other things. I was doing gymnastics for a really
Mm.
long time. That was like my first love before I found dance. And then like an injury kind of led me into stepping further into dance and stepping away from gymnastics. So that was kind of like a little like blessing in disguise, because now here I am.
Wow. And that's interesting because I've actually met many dancers that, as the cliche story of, dance has always been in my life since I'm 2, 3 years old,
Mhm.
classically trained. But also, I've noticed many dancers that I meet, gymnastics has been a part of their life before going into more of a formal curriculum of dance. And you're actually one of the first people I met that can say, you went from gymnastics and kind of went into dancing. Unfortunately, like you said, there was an injury. I think many people don't realize sports like gymnastics, even with dance, of many other sports, there is a risk of injury.
Mhm.
But to see that you took the injury in stride and actually transitioned to go into dancing, it is very interesting because many people that I've met have probably been in those same situations. It probably deterred them completely away.
Mhm.
But for me, a question, and like you said, you this is kind of your fourth time
Yeah.
kind of getting into it. So I would say fourth time's a charm. I believe we also talked about a story privately about that introduction into, beginning to like dance and eventually love it. So kind of give us an understanding of what was that moment like when kind of dance clicked in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, so like as a kid and stuff, I would definitely have identified more as like a tomboy. You probably wouldn't believe it now. Um, yeah, but as a kid, I was like not into like all the girly stuff. So like the recitals and like costumes and all of that like didn't really appeal to me so much. And like the dancing itself, it was fun. It kept me active,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like I wasn't passionate about it until I guess when I was 13, and I guess it took me so like a little time to like emotionally mature so I could really
Mhm.
connect to dance, which was why I fell in love with it so much when I started dancing contemporary. Because to me, that was just like I had found this outlet that I could like release all of my like stress or like emotions into, because previously gymnastics like had been that outlet. Like there's nothing like running down that blue mat and like doing some flips and stuff, and then afterwards you're like, oh, I feel so good now. Um,
Yes.
so to replace that feeling with dancing, and like I'm saying, like there's no feeling like running down the mat and like doing a tumble pass or something like that. It's the same thing like when you come off stage after like a solo that you put in like so much emotion and like depth
Mhm.
into, then when you come off stage you're like, I left myself out there. And like that's
Oh,
the feeling that I fell in love with.
absolutely. I mean, because like you said, it's that moment. Maybe like you said, running off the balance, but even like moments I see in gymnastics, those moments on the balance bars and connecting and making sure you plant that foot and you plant that hit. I think too. I think with dancing, with gymnastics, with anything you kind of involve yourself in, there are things that are gonna keep you motivated, but there are
Mhm.
also things that maybe can deter you away from that. And to see, like you said, you were a tomboy, and kind of looking now, it's almost like the complete
No,
opposite.
yeah.
But something else that I've learned, especially in my life, through TV. I learned a lot in TV, especially about the South. And what I mean, like North Carolina, Texas, Virginia, Alabama. A big thing I was always shown was cheerleading, gymnastics, and how much they really hold dancing very valuable to them from the
Mhm.
different teams they have. So for you, going through that moment of, finding a liking to dance, when was the first dancing you got involved in? Was it Latin? Was it hip hop? Or was it kind of just a wide range of things?
Okay. Yeah. So the first, I guess not the first. When I say the first, it means
Yeah.
like 13,
Yeah.
and then I never
Yeah.
stopped dancing from then. Um, so sorry, question one more time.
No, no. Basically, when you, as you would say, really kind of got into dance after the fourth time,
Yeah.
was it kind of just the ballet? Was it the salsa? Was it hip hop? How did that
Right.
go?
So I joined a competition studio, so we were kind of doing like a variety of things. So contemporary, which
Yep.
was the style that I really fell in love with, jazz, tap, ballet, a little bit of hip hop, like kind of like a little bit of everything.
And,
Was
and I love that because I can honestly say from watching your performances as a solo artist, which I have to give you huge credit for,
yeah.
because believe it or not, people, being a solo artist is not easy. And I tell people this: the harsh reality is it's easier to mask your mess ups with a group than
Mm,
it is to mask everything just by yourself, because
yeah.
it's you're the one that's getting on stage and you're the one that's getting off. And I definitely sincerely appreciate that. But at least before we get started, we have to show some love to Rennie Gongora
Oh yes.
as well. And I believe this is maybe Ricardo, if I'm not mistaken, but he says, Happy New Year's, fams. Let's get it.
Oh.
So, and I love that, to understand that, really you finding a liking to it, you were able to kind of be well rounded.
Mhm.
And many people don't know as well. For me, my background with competition dancing really didn't start with me. It started with my sister when she would go to places like Jersey and they would do those competitions that you
Okay.
have just so many categories. And I'm watching and I'm realizing this is not a salsa congress. This is
Yeah,
like a whole different beast.
it's a different world. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, having a person like you who's had that experience in a different type of competitive world than what we're kind of used to now,
Mhm.
I think also was maybe a heads up, maybe kind of a one up, because, like you said, being in a competition studio, that their focus is we go to competitions, we have to, it's you win gold sometimes or it's nothing. And it's
Yeah.
so, at least now, before we get into how you kind of Latin dancing came about,
Mhm.
was what was those experiences like for you going into competitions and diving into that world?
Okay. Yeah. So I think for me it was never really about the competition itself. It never really has been. I'm not
Mhm.
I don't consider myself a very competitive person.
Yeah.
I was truly in it just like for the love of dance and like in my city at the time. And I think it goes for like a lot of dance like at the like high school age or level or whatever.
Mhm.
To get into those like higher levels, you pretty much have to like commit to the competition world. So that's kind of like where that came in for me. But I did really, really grow to love it because there were just like you said, there's so many categories
Yeah.
within it all. There's like large group and small group, and small group, and then that. So I was able to do like I don't know, like 10 numbers at every competition. So, like, yeah, that's how people now have like 2, 3 routines, and people are like, "How do you remember this?" And I'm like, "This is nothing." Like at my
Exactly.
senior recital, I had like 13 numbers. That's looking back on that, I'm like, how did I remember all of
Ex-
that?
I mean, I think it helps when you're much younger and you're able to soak in information and choreographies, because it is not easy for people who have never been to those competitions. I remember in Jersey, I think they used to call them Starlight or just something, but I remember just realizing that really competitive nature that kids who were 10 had. It almost felt like they were adults and they had the vision of what
Mhm.
they wanted. And I think too, it does, don't get me wrong, competition is great and it can be friendly, but also can be very cutthroat. And I've seen it. And I'll tell you this, the biggest issue that I've always had, in my humble opinion, with competitions is not the competition itself, it's the parents. The parents can just like turn everything ahead and it can get crazy. But
Yeah.
now kind of, as you said, you're becoming more well-rounded. You've gotten into the competition phase. When did Latin dance actually kind of get into your life?
Okay, so that's a good question. So I was a freshman in college when I kind of just stumbled upon it.
Mhm.
I was at UNC Charlotte and I was minoring in dance. And with that, there were like, I had to take a certain amount of electives. So one of them that I took was Intro to Latin Dance, which
Mm.
actually taught by Rodrigo and Wendy at the university.
Wow.
Yeah, like that's another one of their gigs. They're professors at UNC Charlotte.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so I took their class and I just like really, really fell in love with it because I had just gone from graduating from high school, so I was going to competitions every other weekend, doing
Mm.
my 10 routines, you know.
Yeah.
I was like always on the stage. And then I came to college, and even though I joined a small like dance group at UNC Charlotte, we only had so many opportunities to perform throughout the semester.
Mhm.
So to me, it was like I had kind of like taken like a little bit of a step back or like a step away from performing and stuff.
Mhm.
But then when I found Latin dance and found out like, oh, I can go out and like
Yeah.
social dance any
Yeah.
night of the week, sign me
Mhm.
up. So like that kind of like social dancing kind of like filled that void for me of like that like need to perform because I mean in a way social dancing like you're still performing to an
Mhm.
extent. So for me, stumbling upon Latin dance, it just really helped like um, ease that transition. And then once the semester was over, I decided to join their team, and then that's really like the rest is history. That was almost 7 years ago.
Wow. Wow. And I mean, if we're talking 7 years ago, I believe that was 2015.
Yeah.
And many people don't realize, and I've talked to many guests here. I've noticed a lot of guests that I've had on, people that I know personally, their dance journey kind of started, and it's a weird thing. Like 2015 and onward, it was
Mhm.
just an influx of people finding a liking. And big shout out to Rodrigo and Wendy. I've
Oh
known
yeah.
them for many years. I love their work. But one thing that is really fascinating to understand is they're basic, I believe they are adjunct professors.
Yes.
There are professors at the UNC Charlotte, and I find it really fascinating because many people's stories of how they got involved in dance is the cliche. I went to a club with a friend, I saw somebody dancing, I
Mhm.
said I have to do this. But actually having it a part of the curriculum at college, which is also fascinating because I've heard of the stories of when people go to college and find dance, it's always normally an elective. It's never usually the primary. And
Yeah.
I've met people that their actual degree or what they're focused on is completely different than what they start to love. So, big shout outs to Rodrigo and Wendy, kind of getting that bug in you. Like you said,
Yeah.
going from the competition world when you're going on a weekend and doing 10 to 16 routines may have you in one weekend or even one day to actually going to something that, oh wow, there's an added incentive of networking and socializing and meeting other people dancing.
Mhm.
I mean, like you said, you're a freshman in college, you're here to socialize and meet people, and now you found something that you're starting to like, but actually says, hey, besides here, you can find somewhere and meet more people. So now the question is, you've gotten involved in that. What was that first dance like at your first social?
Ooh.
Yeah, we're gonna go there.
Honestly, it took me, like, a little while to,
Mhm.
okay, well, let me say, there's a difference between, like, my first, like, social dancing and then the first time I ever danced at a festival,
Oh,
because that's
absolutely.
2 totally different experiences, But I will say, like, when I first started social dancing, I was definitely like nervous. Like,
Oh, of
as a
course.
follow, it's just so easy to get stuck in your head. Like, was that the right move? Am I on the right count? Like, am I
Yeah.
following good? All the things going inside your head, you know. But at the same time, like after like a couple dances, I'm able to like step away from that and then like be fully like into the music,
Mhm.
into the dances, and that's when I can just like appreciate it all for what it is, you know,
Mhm.
and let go. Um, but yeah, and then the first time social dancing at a festival, I
Yeah.
was like not prepared at all. Yeah, so first of all,
Mhm.
the first festival I ever went to, it was my 20th birthday.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and we were like debuting a new routine with I was on the team for the first time with Rodrigo and
Mhm.
Wendy. So it was my birthday. And so of course my team members are like, "Oh, like we got a party." Like they were like pouring me drinks and stuff.
Oh god.
And my bright idea is to, after like the pre-party or whatever, I decide like, oh, let's go to the salsa room first.
Mhm.
And it was just like after like so many spins, I was like, oh no, I think I'm a little like tired for this. I gotta go to the bachata room.
Oh.
So that was like my first experience dancing at a festival. But I will say I was shocked by the
Mm.
level. I didn't know what to expect. But yeah, and then like I just remember the next day telling people like, oh my god, people were like leading me into moves I didn't even know I knew I
Yeah.
could do and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
it was that like opened even more for me, and I was like, okay, like how do I get involved in this all the time?
I mean, absolutely. Some people they find the bug, as they say, and I'm glad that your first experiences, whether it's a social or a festival, weren't the turn off for you. Because I've also met people that their experiences
Mhm.
wasn't as great, and they kind of question whether they should do this or not. So I'm really happy
Right.
to hear that your experiences were definitely pretty comfortable. I mean, as you said, you were nervous, but you were able
Yeah.
to breeze through that. So realizing, you went from just finding a class, the intro to Latin dance at UNC Charlotte, to then, getting involved in the scene and then going to your first socials, then you go to your first festivals, but also you're heading into the performing world now. And that's also special. So, now kind of fast forwarding, what was it like for you? You went from going from a team at
Yeah.
RNW, when was that transition like for you to then say, I want to become solo?
Okay. So actually that's like kind of further back than you would think. So I remember I think it was like my second season with Rodrigo and Wendy. They had us
Mhm.
all sit down and they were like we want to know your goals with dance. Like what do you want out of this experience? What do you want out of dance in general? And I remember like going home to like sit down and like truly think about it. And I was just like, like I've I always knew I wanted to dance professionally, like in
Mm.
some aspect. I didn't know what or how, but I always knew that I did. And so like I like sat down to like write out my response to them, and like my bottom line was like I want to do this professionally.
Mm.
And since that point, I think I was probably the only person on the team. I think, yeah, I was the only person who was like, I want it. Like, let's take it all the way.
Mm.
So from that moment, they pretty much like sat down with me to be like, okay, like if this is truly what you want, like we can help you get there, and like we'll do what we can to train you and
Yeah.
like get you experiences and stuff like that. So really, they've been there from day one to like support my journey and help guide me through it. So for that, I'm like super super thankful.
Man, that's great because it does help having a supporting cast believe in you because
You need it,
yeah,
honestly.
because it's very easy for a community to just say, no, it's okay. Just, do it on your own. But to have
Hmm.
people really looking out for you is definitely helpful because again, even though our dance world is small, it is still pretty big. And every city
Yeah.
has their dancers, every city has their socials events, every city has their figures in the community. So to see people like Rajuga and Wendy really believing in you, motivating you, and determined to help, it's really amazing.
Yeah.
So now we've realized how you got into the solo dancing, kind of how dancing fell into your life, the people that have been helpful to you at times. So my question to you is, me meeting you at Dallas Bachata Festival,
Mhm.
originally I thought you were from Dallas, because I'm like, I see
Yeah.
all these videos in Dallas. But what was that experience like for you to take really your talents? If we're gonna go in a sports way, as I say,
Yeah.
kind of the LeBron thing of taking my talents elsewhere. How was that experience like for you to take your talents to Dallas and work out there?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it was scary as hell to move out here by myself, because coming into it, I didn't really know um, a lot of dancers out here
Mhm.
because I had been to before moving out here, I had only been to Dallas once, and it was for Dallas Bachata Festival in
Mm.
2019. So like I knew a handful of people, mostly only guys, just because like when you dance with people, like I met more guys than girls, obviously. So coming out here, I didn't really like know what to expect or anything like that. But I found that like coming in to the teams with Bylart and stuff, everyone
Mhm.
was really, really accepting, really excited to have me here. So that was really awesome to experience a dance community that's so like friendly and
Yeah.
accepting. I would say like Dallas is really good about, from my
Yeah.
experience, the scene doesn't seem to be too divided. I mean, of course, there's like people here and there who like have their beef, but like there's some cities that are like very like you're with this company or
Mhm.
you're with that one, and like there's like no in between. But as far as what I experienced from Dallas, everyone kind of seems to support each other and like go to all of each other's events and stuff. So that was like really, really refreshing and exciting to see when I got here. It was also super nice that
Mhm.
amidst COVID, I mean, Texas has been pretty open
Yeah.
the whole time. So it was nice to kind of like step into that over here to come to a
Mhm.
city where like dancing isn't closed.
Yeah.
So I think that really helped me like survive
Yeah.
2020 through
Yeah.
it, you know?
And to me, to see that you went to Dallas, I think was a great idea. From
Mhm,
my experience, of course, going to Dallas since 2017, from what people have told me in Dallas, Dallas, when in terms of the scene, in terms of dancing, it's a predominantly bachata sensual, as they say, kind of scene. You'll have your traditionals. In my opinion, bachata is bachata, but I've seen many amazing groups coming out of the Dallas Fort Worth area and the surrounding areas. And something you said also was really revealing, and it's actually true. Even though we praise unity, a lot of cities, a lot of companies, a lot of areas, they kind of want to focus solely on their consumers and them only. And
mhm.
to realize that there are certain cities and are certain companies and figures in the community that just want everybody to have fun. Because for me, being in New York is a very cutthroat area in terms of,
Donkey dog.
you have your clients, you have your, this is my people. If you go over here, there's an issue. But in reality, dance is dance. You can choose where you
Mhm.
want to spend your money, but also it's where you feel comfortable. And if you feel comfortable going to 6, 7 socials a week, so be it. Because again, it's your money, but it's also your experience. And the fact that even through COVID, you've been able to have a smooth experience is great. Because, like you said, you came all the way there from North Carolina by
Mhm.
yourself.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, but you were able to really capitalize. And seeing you, especially at Dallas this year, I'm not gonna lie, like it was almost every time, and many follows understand this and leaders.
Mhm.
Nothing's crazier than when you're at a festival and a congress or what have you. you just finished having a great dance with someone and you're about to just walk away and somebody's grabbing you again. And it's it's like a never ending like just cycle. But you know, especially this last Dallas, it was great to see people like you, Arturo, and many others in the dance community just happy. I mean, because again,
Yeah.
we've been through so much, but then besides the social dance floor, you on the stage, it was really humbling and just seeing a fresh artist who is doing solo work, but also I can tell through your dancing, you understand the responsibility that you have as an artist because it's not just getting on a
Mhm.
stage and expecting the world to love you. You
Right.
really, I can see the lineage of history of you being well-rounded and being taught many styles, and it shows through your dancing because many
Yeah.
dancers unfortunately when they're not trained in many other styles or choose not to go in it and they're just focused on one, you can tell and you can have those times of
Mhm.
limitations. But I've seen you've been able to capitalize on stages, whether it's a congress or just your natural social. So now, before we get into our last segment called the randoms, you know, it's 2022 now. And I think currently right now, because before when we met, you were heading back home to North Carolina.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
then somehow, right now, you've made your way back to Dallas.
I'm in Dallas at the
You know,
moment.
my question for you, and trust me, we'll definitely get more into what you do outside of dance in our last segment. But for you now,
Okay.
2022, what does Ashton Laney really see for her future?
Ooh, okay. That's a good
Mm,
question. I have 2022 is gonna be a lot. A lot is coming. So first of all, I am back in Charlotte and I'm working with Rodrigo and Wendy again.
mm,
So I'm gonna be partnering up with them on some big things. So they've kind of like readjusted their curriculum. So like COVID kind of made us like downsize some things,
mhm,
and now that knock on wood, we're kind of in the clear.
mhm.
Um, we're able to expand back out again.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be teaching with them every week, and then I'm also going to be having my own ladies team underneath.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so it'll be like my first routine to completely choreograph by myself and teach to a group and take them to perform. So I'm really excited about that. And then also we have competition coming up
Okay.
this month in January. So I feel like I'm just like January, I'm like hitting the ground running with all of these things. But also in 2022, I do plan to start my own classes in Charlotte.
Okay.
Yeah, so not there's not an official date yet. I was definitely waiting till after competition because
Yeah.
that's been my focus. This is what I'm doing. I'm preparing for. And once that is over, I'm gonna have like the classes and team under Rodrigo and Wendy, and then the next step will to be have we'll be having my own class once a week. So that'll be starting up here in the next couple months,
Mm.
and yeah. So from there, and then we'll just see where I can run with that.
Hey, I definitely, it's definitely see you hitting the ground running. And again, it's great to see your motivation and just see the happiness in when you're talking about your future ventures because again, it's a totally different feeling being the person that's being taught than being
Mm,
the person that is teaching. But
absolutely.
I think now it helps us and it allows us to transition to our last segment called the randoms, which is about 10 questions here that I have that may
Okay.
involve dance, that may involve life, and everything in between. So, Ashton, this actually goes into my first question. What is the feeling like now teaching others than when you were originally being taught?
So there's, I would say, like, I'll give you like the thing I like the most and the thing I like the least about it. So,
Absolutely.
the thing I like the least about it is that now, like, when you kind of step into that professional role, you don't have that coach 24/7. I mean, I do have Rodrigo and Wendy, but I'm not always in the student role.
Yeah.
So there's like a time and a place for them to like correct me in front of everybody versus like they wouldn't like treat me as the student as I'm also teaching a class. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So I don't get that like constant corrections or feedback like that. Also the motivation. I would say like when I came out here to Texas, especially like when I didn't have Rodrigo and Wendy at the studio with me, being my own motivator was the most difficult thing because there's nothing like your coach like yelling in your face, like get
Yeah.
up off the floor and
Yeah.
run it again. You know, like to tell yourself that is a different experience. But I will say my favorite thing is that I also have like a new passion for teaching because
Yeah.
teaching and dancing, like teaching dance and dancing are two totally separate things. Like not everyone who's an amazing dancer is an amazing teacher and vice
Thank you.
versa.
Thank
Sometimes
you
the best
very
teachers
much.
aren't the best dancers either. So I'm just I'm really thankful that I started teaching because it's never something I like saw myself doing.
Yes.
But now that I am doing it, I love it so much. Like loving or teaching people is like one of my new passions. So I'm really love that aspect of it.
Well, I definitely love the honesty and transparency in that answer. And now it brings us to number 2. And we're going to take it all the way to North Carolina. And this answer many people may love or many people may not. But
Okay.
we're going to ask you now is two things, one or the other. We're going North Carolina Tar Heels or are we going Duke?
Ooh.
Yeah, I had to put you on the spot there.
You did, but unfortunately, I'm not a sports person. So I live in a house divided. We have some Duke fans and some Carolina fans, and then there's me that's like,
I'm just here. Just take me to the game, and
yeah, like I can
Okay.
dance at halftime if you want me to, but
Okay. Hey, I respect that. I mean, you're kind of right in between, so there's no division there. So I definitely
yeah,
respect that.
yeah.
All right, next
Sorry,
question.
guys.
No worries. So we're gonna now still keep it back in North Carolina, and
Okay.
this now should be interesting. So, if for example, you have a friend that is visiting from out of town, and they're saying, "Hey, once I get off the plane, I need you to take me somewhere to eat." Where are you taking them once they get off that plane?
Okay. Do we want like Southern food, like
We
typical?
want like when somebody's saying just surprise me, take me where you want to go. I want that experience.
Okay. That's tough because Charlotte really has a lot.
Mhm.
But I would say, like, especially if it's like someone like who's not from the South, I
Yeah.
would take them to this place. Actually, funny because the name of the restaurant is actually called The Diamond.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
So there's this place in Plaza Midwood. It's called The Diamond, and they have like the best Southern food that I've eaten in a restaurant.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because usually, like, so if I'm gonna have Southern food, like, I'm gonna go to my grandma's house or like I'm gonna make it
Okay.
myself.
Big shout out to your grandmother because I
Yeah,
know.
you know, like so I would say like that restaurant has the best, most authentic Southern
Okay.
food.
I love that answer. I love that answer. All right. Next question is I need you to fill in the blank for me. And it goes like this. If Ashton is not dancing or teaching, she is doing blank.
Not dancing or teaching. She's probably sleeping.
All
You know,
right.
7 days a week. So if she's not working, she's dancing. So
Okay.
if I'm not doing one of the two. I'm chilling.
Love it. Love it. All right. Next one here. We're kind of keep it in that range. So, what is a hobby of yours or something that you like to do that many people may not know?
Um, Okay, I'll give you two. So one of them is yoga. I did like my teacher certification and stuff, so I got really into that.
You're a yogi. Is that it?
Yeah, I
Okay.
am. Yeah, I didn't get super into the teaching side, but I definitely like kept all of that information like for personal use and my personal practice.
Okay.
And then aside from that, I have always really enjoyed like cooking and baking. So a lot of times, like when I have a day free, I'm like, "Ooh, what can I like come up with today?"
Okay.
Um, yeah.
All right. I like that. I like that. All right. Next question. We'll still kind of go into the food before we go into some dancing ones. Is if you could have one last meal right now, what would that be?
What would that be? Ooh, that is tough. One last meal. Okay.
Are we going grandma's cooking? Are we going to diamond? Or I don't.
No, that's tough. I think if it was like one last meal, I would have to get like a steak dinner, because
Mm.
that's
And if since that can be controversial because people like their steak in different ways. How do you like your
mm,
steak?
like medium
Okay.
rare.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Don't cook it too much.
Okay. Gotcha. I love that. As well, I want to give a big shout out to Magali Abigail Romero saying she would love to
Oh,
do the certification too. Because hey, I heard it's like 100 hours, 200 hours, like there's different. So hey, anyone that can
yeah,
dedicate that time, totally respect it. All right,
and
next
absolutely
question.
worth it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So now the next question too. We're gonna take it back into some dancing now,
Okay.
but this one should be very interesting. So when someone is dancing with you on a dance for a social setting, what is a
Mhm.
huge pet peeve of yours? Like a big don't.
Ooh, I mean, okay, there's like a list, of course, but I think like number one, if you are like super sweaty, like you're drenched in sweat, it's like the end of the night, and you've been dancing for hours and you haven't changed your outfit. That's fine. We all sweat when we're dancing. I'm not afraid of like getting a little sweaty.
Mhm.
But if your face is dripping sweat, don't put your face on
Oh,
my face.
because the makeup will run, but also you know.
Honestly, at the end of the night, my foundation is missing from like this little
Oh.
like circle. Like when
Because
you
they
put
always like the
lipstick on your
forehead,
forehead.
that forehead connection. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. Hey, I'm all leaders. Just change your shirt, go to the bathroom, dry up a little bit. Come on, Ashton will have a great dance with you, but not if you're like super sweaty. Not if you're just piled of sweat.
Or if you are super sweaty, just don't touch the face. That's
There
all.
you go. And then even Magali here says, "Oh, when they wipe their sweat with their hand, then continue." I mean, hey, I've seen it as a videographer. I've seen it all. I've seen the
Oh yeah.
facial expressions of. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen some facial expressions from you and many others when you're dancing with people, and it's like
I can't hide it. I
I know.
can't.
I respect it. I respect the honesty. All right,
So
next
you will have
question.
more.
Absolutely. All right, next question is we're gonna put you on a spot here too. So imagine you're at one of your favorite dancing events, and I would say a congress or a festival, and the promoter, the organizer says, Ashton, I'm giving you the opportunity to give us or tell us who is the last show. So you have that responsibility right now, and you could pick any artist. Who would it be to close your show?
Ooh. Okay. I have to like think about this one for a second because there's a lot of performances that I've seen that I'm like, wow, that was amazing. But I want to think of something that like really like resonates with me,
Mhm.
This is tough.
Hey,
Diamond.
but it wasn't gonna be easy. I wasn't gonna throw some softballs
Yeah,
at you.
yeah. You weren't playing. Um. mm, I think I'm gonna say, and this is an artist that I met this year.
Yeah.
Totally new to me, but like seeing them on stage just gives me like so much energy and excitement. I'm gonna have to go with his name is Eddie Peligro.
Mhm. Oh yes, yes. Oh,
Yeah, I
definitely.
saw his company for the first time this year performing, and I was like, wow, like
Yes, Eddie Peligro
how
from the
have I
Phoenix
been missing
area.
out? Yeah,
Yep,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
So
Definitely big
that
shout
one
outs to
like
Eddie.
really stuck out to me.
Hey, I mean, hey, and that's great because I can see you thinking, and it's like, whoa, that clicked. because again,
Mhm.
there's just artists. We see so many dancers in and out of the stage that sometimes it's hard to kind of like just pinpoint, like, man, who's just been giving me
Like, who
something
sticks
different.
out?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I definitely respect that. All right, number 8, we'll throw a softball question at you. Can you give us your
Okay.
favorite color?
My favorite color is red. Come
Okay.
on.
I mean, maybe that was a dead giveaway, but hey, it's a softball
Yeah.
question. All right, number 9, and this is our second to last question here. It goes like this. If you could have your own store, what would the name of that store be?
Name of the store. What am I selling?
You could sell anything. You could sell rhinestones. You can sell anything you want.
Oh man, this is hard. I've actually been like, this is another struggle with starting my own classes. Is like coming up with a name for the company. To me, is like I'm not good at this.
I mean, I say this, if I was to throw something in, if you had your own makeup line, you could call it Ashton Cosmetics, or you can call if you had a
Oh,
lounge bar, or you could call it the Laney. I don't know. Just hey, I'm just throwing something at you.
yeah, no, I got you. No, I want something like same thing. Like when I was like trying to think of the performances, I want something that like
Speaks to you.
resonates with me. Like it doesn't have to have my name in it or whatever. But I'll let you know my answer in our part 2.
All
How's that?
right, absolutely, definitely. All right, now we are at our last question, and this one I
Oh,
love asking because I feel like it's a lot more introspective, and it kind of brings the whole conversation in full circle. So my last question to you is, Ashton, from seeing how far you've come, and seeing where you are currently, presently, thinking about years from now, when you are maybe in a different stage or point in your life, how would you like yourself to be remembered?
oh. I mean, I just want to be like remembered as like the person who like goes out there and gives it their all, whether it's teaching a class, performing, social dancing, like I just want to be known for like being like fully there.
Mm,
Because I think especially as I start to do this, because I've been dancing consistently for 12 years now.
yeah,
At some point with any job, no matter how long you've been doing it, some part of it becomes routine, some part of it becomes work, you
yeah.
know? So I want to like strive for as long as I can to not get to that point.
Mhm.
So hopefully, like, to be remembered by someone who's like always fully there would be.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that. I love that. All right, but thank you again, Ashton, for doing this segment. I love doing it every one of my artists because, again, like I said, it feels like it brings the conversation to full circle. But now it helps us transition to the conclusion of our talk today. And as you said a little earlier, part 2, because actually, for me here, as I do with every first episode of every guest that I have, I always say it feels like a part 1. And as we've talked, my plans are definitely to meet up this year and now do this interview publicly, whether it's with you, whether it's with you, Rodrigo and Wendy, where have it, but giving you kind of having more of a personal experience and catching up. But I've definitely had a pleasure having you on today. I know you're a busy woman. I know you're just full of life, but at least before we do go, I would love to know if you had any last few words for myself and the audience, but also maybe some contact info on how people can reach you and see what you're up to next.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you can find me all of my social media is just Ashton Laney. So Instagram, Facebook, um, TikTok, but
Okay.
we'll
So,
see if I like make my way back to TikTok in 2022.
okay.
Maybe that can be a goal for this year. But yeah, so Ashton Laney at any of the social medias, and I just want to say thank you, Diamond. This was a really
Absolutely.
awesome experience, a great way to kick off the year. Now I'm like even more excited to hit the ground running and get going. So
Absolutely. I
And thank
mean,
you all to everyone who listened too.
of course, of course. For me, I think it's really important as well. Of course, we highlighting the journey, highlighting success, but really understanding how you got there, understanding the hurdles you may have to go through, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4 attempts, and finally finding that love. Whether it's hitting your first social, then your festivals, and so have it. But I feel like we've really gotten really a glimpse of your life, and
Mhm.
definitely look forward to seeing you this
Sure.
year, catching up, and definitely here at the podcast. We fully support your career. We can't wait to see what's happening
Mhm.
next. Again, 2022. This is now the first episode of the year, episode 176, with the one and only Ashton Laney, an
Thank
artist that
you.
everyone should be looking out for. So I thank you all for tuning in, who will be tuning in. This episode will be on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and other streaming platforms. Thank you guys for tuning in. Everyone, have a wonderful Sunday. And let's get ready for the start of the week. We've got more episodes, and everyone definitely check out Ashton and all the work she's upcoming with. Stay safe. See you soon.